There's a reason why the smartest person you know is also probably the most anxious. And it's not because something's wrong with them. It's because their brain is doing exactly what high intelligence requires, and that process has a devastating side effect that most people never experience. In 2012, researchers at SUNY Downstate Medical Center made a discovery that changed how we understand anxiety. They studied people with generalized anxiety disorder and found something unexpected. These patients scored significantly higher on verbal intelligence tests than the control group. The people whose minds wouldn't stop racing with worst-case scenarios weren't less intelligent, they were more intelligent. The anxiety wasn't despite their intelligence, it was because of it. In 2015, psychologists at Lakehead University in Canada tested 126 students and found a direct correlation between test anxiety and IQ scores. The students who were most anxious about exams consistently scored higher on intelligence tests. The calm, confident students, average intelligence. The nervous wrecks, significantly above average. The pattern was undeniable. Higher intelligence meant higher anxiety. A study published in Frontiers in Evolutionary Neuroscience found that people with anxiety disorders have more neural connections in areas of the brain associated with complex thinking and future planning. Their brains weren't malfunctioning. They were hyper-connected. They weren't overthinking because of a defect. They were overthinking because their brains had more processing capacity. But here's what nobody tells you when you're lying awake at 3 a.m., catastrophizing about everything that could go wrong. Your anxiety isn't a disorder. It's a side effect of a brain that processes more information, simulates more scenarios, and sees more possibilities than most people's brains are capable of handling. The thing making you miserable is the same thing making you smart. This is why intelligence and anxiety are inseparably linked. How your overthinking brain is actually a computational advantage disguised as suffering. And why trying to eliminate your anxiety might mean eliminating the cognitive processes that make you exceptional. Your brain is too good at its job, and that's the problem. Let me explain what's happening inside your head that isn't happening in calm people's heads. Your brain has a threat detection system. Everyone's does. Evaluates risks and triggers anxiety when it detects problems. This is normal. This kept your ancestors alive. But here's where your brain is different. A 2016 study at King's College London found that people with high IQs have more active threat detection systems. Not because they're paranoid, because their brains process more potential threats. The average person's brain scans their environment and identifies maybe 5-10 possible problems. Your brain identifies 50 mirror 100. Same environment. Your brain just sees more. And it gets worse. Your brain doesn't just identify more threats, it simulates them in greater detail. When an average person worries about a job interview, they think, what if I mess up? When you worry about a job interview, your brain generates a full cinematic experience. You mess up the first question. The interviewer's face shows disappointment. You try to recover, but make it worse. They end the interview early. You don't get the job. You can't pay rent. You get evicted. Your life spirals. This isn't irrational. This is your brain doing exactly what high-processing intelligence does, running detailed simulations of possible futures. Chess grandmasters do this with board positions. Military strategists do this with combat scenarios. Your brain does this with everything. The problem is that detailed simulation of negative scenarios feels like anxiety. Here's the brutal mechanism. Intelligence correlates with working memory capacity, how much information your brain can hold and manipulate simultaneously. A 2017 study found that people with larger working memory capacity experience more intrusive thoughts and rumination. Why? Because they can hold more worst-case scenarios in their head at the same time. Your anxiety isn't a bug. It's your brain's processing capacity applied to threat detection. You're not overthinking. You're thinking correctly about how much can go wrong. Everyone tells you to stop overthinking. But let me tell you what's actually happening when you overthink. You're doing accurate probability analysis that other people's brains can't perform. Take a simple example. Your friend invites you to a party. Normal person's thought process. Party sounds fun. I'll go. Your thought process. Party means social interaction with people I don't know. I'll need to make small talk, which is exhausting. What if I say something awkward? What if I don't know anyone? What if I want to leave early but can't without being rude? What if it's too loud and I get overstimulated? What if people call this overthinking? But here's what you're actually doing. Risk assessment. You're identifying every possible negative outcome and evaluating the probability of each. Your brain is running a Monte Carlo simulation on a party invitation. This is computationally sophisticated. It's also exhausting, and you're usually right. A 2019 study found that people with higher anxiety actually make more accurate predictions about negative outcomes than non-anxious people. They're not catastrophizing. They're correctly identifying real risks that others miss. When you worry that something might go wrong, you're usually right that it might. You're just also aware of 47 other things that might go wrong that nobody else is considering. But here's why this destroys you. Other people's brains have a natural filter. They don't process most potential problems because their threat detection system has a higher threshold. They experience blissful ignorance. Every possibility gets processed. Every risk gets evaluated. Every scenario gets simulated. This is intelligence applied to existence, and existence has infinite things to worry about. The smarter you are, the more you realize how much you don't control. Here's the thing about intelligence that creates anxiety. The smarter you get, the more you understand how little control you actually have. And understanding lack of control is terrifying. Average intelligence sees the world simply: work hard, get promoted, be nice, have friends, follow the rules, succeed. Cause and effect is straightforward. Control is possible. Life is manageable. High intelligence sees the complexity. You work hard, but office politics matter more. You're nice, but social chemistry is random. You follow rules, but outcomes depend on factors you can't influence. Every action branches into multiple possible outcomes. Every choice has second-order effects you can't predict. Control is mostly illusion. They see more variables. They understand more ways things can go wrong. They recognize more factors outside their control. This awareness is intellectually accurate. It's also anxiety-inducing, and your brain won't let you ignore this. Average intelligence people can believe comforting simplifications because they don't see the complexity. You can't unsee it. You know that your job security depends on economic forces, industry trends, company politics, and random factors. You know that relationships depend on compatibility, timing, life circumstances, and pure luck. You know that health depends on genetics, environment, random chance, and factors you can't control. This knowledge is accurate. And it's terrifying, because once you understand how many variables affect outcomes, you realize how little control you actually have, and lack of control is the fundamental source of anxiety. Your brain simulates every disaster before it happens because it's trying to save you. Let's talk about what happens at 3 a.m. when you're lying in bed and your brain decides it's the perfect time to review every mistake you've made, every danger you face, and every way your life could collapse. This isn't insomnia. This is your threat detection system running disaster simulations. Here's what's happening neurologically. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning and problem solving, is extremely active. A 2018 brain imaging study found that people with anxiety disorders have significantly more activity in prefrontal regions during rest. Their brains don't rest. They're always working. What are they working on? Simulations. Your brain is running through scenarios. What if I lose my job? What if my relationship ends? What if I get sick? What if that pain is something serious? What if I'm making the wrong decisions? It's generating detailed narratives of potential futures and evaluating how to prevent them. This is strategic planning. It's just applied to your entire life instead of a chess game. And because you're intelligent, the simulations are detailed, realistic, and terrifying. You're not imagining vague bad things. You're seeing step by step how your life could unravel, complete with financial calculations, social consequences, and emotional impacts. But here's the paradox. This simulation process that causes anxiety is also what enables strategic thinking. Jeff Bezos runs disaster simulations on Amazon constantly. What if our main revenue source disappears, and builds backup systems? Military strategists simulate defeat scenarios to identify weaknesses. Your brain does the same thing. The problem is that while Bezos simulates business disasters, your brain simulates personal disasters. The benefit is that you're rarely blindsided by problems. You've already mentally prepared for them. Your anxiety isn't making you weaker. It's making you resilient through advanced preparation. But God, does it make the nights long? Social intelligence creates social anxiety because you see what they're really thinking. If you have social anxiety, here's what nobody tells you. You're probably better at reading people than most humans. And that's exactly why social situations terrify you. A 2013 study found that people with social anxiety have superior ability to read facial expressions and detect subtle emotional cues. They're more accurate at identifying when someone is uncomfortable, annoyed, or judging them. This isn't paranoia. This is heightened social perception. But here's the problem. When you walk into a room, your brain is processing dozens of social signals simultaneously. Tone of voice, micro-expressions, group dynamics, power structures. You see when someone's fake smile doesn't reach their eyes. You notice when someone's laugh is forced. You detect the subtle shift in energy when you say something slightly wrong. Other people miss most of this. They experience social interaction at face value. Someone says they're fine, they believe it. Someone laughs at their joke. They think it's funny. They experience comfortable social illusion. You experience uncomfortable social reality. And your brain knows they're judging you, because you can read their micro-expressions when they're judging you. That flicker of confusion when you say something weird. That moment of disinterest when your story goes too long. That subtle pulling back when you're too intense. You see all of it. And it confirms your worst fears. This is high social intelligence creating high social anxiety. You're not imagining judgment. You're detecting it accurately. The problem is that everyone judges everyone constantly, and most people have the mercy of not noticing. You notice everything, and that makes every social interaction an exhausting exercise in real-time analysis of how you're being perceived. The curse of seeing multiple futures simultaneously. Here's maybe the most fundamental link between intelligence and anxiety. Your brain doesn't experience one possible future. It experiences dozens simultaneously. This is advanced probabilistic thinking. It's also paralyzing, because while you're seeing all these futures, you're also experiencing the emotions associated with each. The anxiety of future 2, the regret of future 3, the fear of future 4. You're not making one decision. You're making dozens of hypothetical decisions and living through their consequences before any of them happen. Average intelligence experiences linear prediction. If I do X, then Y happens. Simple, comfortable. Your intelligence experiences branching probabilities. Then Y might happen, but also Z could happen, and the probability depends on variables A, B, and C, which I can't control. And each outcome branches into further outcomes. This is why decisions paralyze you. Not because you can't think clearly, because you think too clearly. You see too many possibilities. You understand too much uncertainty. The mental load of holding multiple futures in your head while trying to choose between them is crushing. And here's the worst part. You can't turn this off. Your brain automatically generates these scenarios. You can't choose to see one simple future like other people do. Your neural architecture won't allow it. You're cursed with the ability to see multiple timelines simultaneously. And most of them contain things you don't want. Why just relax is the stupidest advice ever. People tell you to just relax, stop worrying, don't think about it so much. Let me translate what they're actually saying. Turn off your intelligence temporarily so you can be as ignorant as me. They can relax because they don't see what you see. Their threat detection system has a higher threshold. Their working memory holds fewer scenarios. Their social perception misses subtle cues. They exist in comfortable partial awareness. They're telling you to achieve their mental state, but that mental state requires not processing information that your brain processes automatically. This is like telling someone with perfect vision to just stop seeing so much detail. When you finally do relax, those rare moments when your brain quiets down, it's not because you stopped overthinking. It's because you've mentally prepared for every scenario, evaluated every risk, and developed contingency plans for everything. You've done so much threat analysis that your brain finally runs out of new disasters to simulate. That's not relaxation. That's exhaustion. The price you pay for seeing clearly. Here's the brutal reality about the intelligence-anxiety link. You can't have one without the other. The cognitive abilities that make you smart are the same mechanisms that make you anxious. Pattern recognition that helps you solve problems also helps you see patterns in how things go wrong. Working memory that lets you hold complex ideas also lets you hold multiple catastrophic scenarios. Social intelligence that helps you understand people also helps you see when they're judging you. Simulation capacity that enables strategic planning also enables detailed disaster planning. Awareness of complexity that makes you insightful also makes you aware of how little control you have. You can't selectively turn off the anxiety while keeping the intelligence. They're the same system. Your brain doesn't have an anxiety switch separate from an intelligence switch. The processing capacity that makes you smart is the same capacity applied to threat detection that makes you anxious. So you face a choice. You can try to suppress your anxiety by suppressing your thinking. Meditation, mindfulness, living in the moment, these help by reducing cognitive activity. They work by making you temporarily stupider. And that's not an insult. Sometimes thinking less is valuable. But it means choosing ignorance over awareness, or you can accept that anxiety is the price of intelligence. That seeing clearly means seeing danger clearly, that processing capacity means processing threats. That your brain's computational power can't be aimed only at positive scenarios while ignoring negative ones. The smartest people you know are anxious for a reason. Einstein struggled with anxiety and depression. Darwin was so anxious he rarely left his house. Tesla, Newton, Lincoln, Churchill, geniuses plagued by anxiety and depression. It wasn't coincidence. It was the cost of minds that processed reality more deeply than comfortable illusions allowed. You're not broken. You're accurately seeing a chaotic world. Listen, your anxiety isn't proof that something's wrong with you. It's proof that your brain is doing exactly what high intelligence does. Processing more information, simulating more scenarios, detecting more threats, and understanding more complexity than most people's brains can handle. The people telling you to relax are living in comfortable partial awareness. They don't see what you see. They can't hold the scenarios you hold. They don't detect the signals you detect. Their ignorance protects them. Your intelligence exposes you. And yes, it's exhausting. Yes, the 3 a.m. disaster simulations are terrible. Yes, the social anxiety from reading every micro-expression is draining. Yes, the decision paralysis from seeing too many futures is crushing. Yes, it would be easier to be less aware. But your anxiety is also what makes you prepared, strategic, and rarely blindsided. The scenarios you simulate at 3 a.m. are the disasters you avoid at 3 p.m. The social signals you overanalyze are the dynamics you navigate successfully. The multiple futures you see are the bad decisions you don't make. You're paying the price of seeing clearly, and the price is anxiety. But the alternative is comfortable delusion, and your brain won't let you have that because it's too intelligent to accept comforting lies. So maybe stop trying to eliminate the anxiety. maybe accept that it's part of the package. Your brain's threat detection, scenario simulation, and complexity processing aren't malfunctions. They're features of high intelligence. Uncomfortable features, but features nonetheless. The hidden link between intelligence and anxiety isn't a flaw in smart people. It's the inevitable consequence of brains powerful enough to see reality clearly. And reality, when seen clearly, is genuinely anxiety-inducing. Your anxiety proves your brain works. Maybe too well, but it works.